All right, day 2 of quarantine jiu-jitsu. Here again with Master Juan Perez. This is our second class. Yesterday we got together and we covered the concepts of backmount, rear naked chokes, short chokes, some of the defensive mechanics of those positions, and we tried to fix a lot of gaps that we see in people's games. So today we're going to quickly review what we covered yesterday in case you missed that lesson, or maybe you still have some questions and we might recover the material in a way that it makes you say, oh, that makes sense. And then from that point, today's class, our goal is to create series, right? We want to take our jiu-jitsu and we never want to think of it as like a piece to a puzzle that we don't know what that puzzle is a part of. Because if I have a piece of a puzzle but I can't see the full picture, I only know what to do in that exact given situation. But when I can take that puzzle piece and fit it into a large, picture that represents what I'm trying to create, now it makes sense. I know how this piece fits into this piece, fits into this piece, and that's where you notice that high-level grapplers, they don't even really have, this technique, that technique, this technique. It's just a steady game of jiu-jitsu. Regardless of what decisions you make, they already know where they're going next. So I'll have Juan jump on my back first, and we'll point out the details, and if he can think of any questions, I'll have him ask. But we'll do a quick review. So we covered backmount. This is backmount in jiu-jitsu. It's the most dominant position in the game. The reason it's the most dominant position is my body's not set up to fight what's behind me. I'm supposed to turn around, but I can't turn around because he's got a hold of me. If you notice his seatbelt positioning, if his eyes were shut, he can tell that my chin is above his arm. If his yes, and instantly he knows I'm going to be in danger, right? Instantly he can look for the choke. If he leaves his hands low, which is a big mistake that people make, I'm free. And not only am I free to be moving and fighting like this, there's less pressure on the seat belt, and I'm significantly stronger here. With just one arm, if Juan tries to pull up and attack my neck, right, I'm way stronger here than even if you just make me fight here. Look at the difference. I can't have that elbow tucked well. I don't have the same leverage, okay? So we started with the concept of the seatbelt. If you look at Master Perez's seatbelt, it's buckled up tight. There's no gap here. If I try to place my fingers or hand in this gap, I'm touching my own neck. If you look at his hands, he has this hand on top, the one he's about to attack with, and his bottom hand is already ready to be defensive. So the second I try to bring this, he's not going to let me. He's never going to allow me to take my left hand and control his attacking arm. That's a really big mistake, right? And we also talked about once you commit to taking this hand, keep it away from the opponent's neck and body. If you hold it very close like this, sometimes I can pull enough to feed it to that hand, and that becomes a big problem. Okay, so he has his seatbelt, and notice where his right hand is on his left hand. There's not a bunch of gap. If he goes like this and leaves this hand out, this allows me to manipulate this hand to try to weaken the grip. He's not giving me that option. He's got the seatbelt. Notice his head placement. We a lot of times say in jiu-jitsu that like our spines are lined up, and they are, but that doesn't mean that your head is lined up, right? It's over my shoulder. He's creating the locking effect from this pressure and this pressure, right? And he has his seatbelt or his hooks in at all times, right? He can manipulate those more and more the better he gets with his seatbelt. So let's start with the rear naked choke. Off the initial grip, huge mistake a lot of people make is they just reach with their arm and they don't get a good bite. So go ahead and do a small reach around my neck, Juan, like you're doing the first step. Look at his elbow. It didn't come all the way around. When you make that initial, whatever's taking place that you go to attack, what? Yes. Look at this. Like he threw a right hook. It is perfectly lined up. Juan's barely squeezing, and I can feel the blood difference to myself already. Now, if you can see his hand is anchored on my back. Not only is his hand anchored, he's covering his hand with his chin. What that does is it makes it incredibly difficult for me to fight. And that's without him even using his left hand. If I try to bring my left hand into the fight, Juan should stop me from doing that. So then I only have this hand, and look at how big of a disadvantage I'm at. We also talked about if you have a great squeeze, if you can pinch and squeeze down, a lot of times you can get the tap with one hand here. And many, many people think that with one hand you can't finish. That's not true. If you have a good squeeze, he has the arteries, he has an anchor point, he pulls the elbow down, he can absolutely get the tap. Now, to finish his rear naked choke, when he rips this arm out, slow motion, notice that his hand never comes back in the front.
It's shooting straight across. It's securing the trap. Yep, his own trap. From this position, his elbows come together and squeeze down. I'm done. Doesn't matter who I am. It's over.
Okay, so let's reset. That was our rear naked choke, and then we talked about the short choke. So short choke takes place when maybe throughout this battle, he has been trying to get the rear naked choke, which is the higher percentage, which is what we want to go for, but sometimes you cannot. So he's not able to do that, but he's able to get his cutter deep on my neck. He's going to pull this hand out, and he's going to act like he's serving a tray of food. Now his right elbow is going to lift as his right shoulder engages forward. So look at his right shoulder comes forward, and then he starts to pull. And it's a horrible crush. Feels like my esophagus is going to explode, and I'm in a lot of danger. Okay, we lightly also touched on the concept that anytime you apply a short choke attempt, if you feel like you're not going to get this, he can rip this way, yes, and go right back to lining up the elbow. So I started to worry about the short choke. He goes full rear naked. Notice that his head covers the arm. I can't get this arm out. I have a very limited window, and I'm forced to tap. Okay? If you look one more time on the short choke, and this is expedited. If you want all the details or a much further in depth, please click back on the previous video and go over that. But notice when he's here, he's not going to just try to reach. He is going to, with this arm, it's like you have a hold of something. He's going to rip it as violently as he can as he turns his body to get that really nice elbow bite. So rip that back. Look at this. I'm done. He's going to punch his hand over. He's never going to let me see it. He's going to cover it. Squeeze. The match is over. Okay? So we cover the offensive details of the rear naked choke, having a perfect blood choke. We talked about, many, many factors like not squeezing 100%. You need to know these things. If you don't know it, start with that video. Then come here. We also went to defenses. So jump on my back. Right off the bat, there's two things I want every single practitioner that learns from me to understand. Once you got your back taken, you're already at a significant disadvantage. As soon as this takes place, I want you to remember to do technically three things. I want you to immediately attack, control the arms. You have to fight the hands immediately, because if he gets that first bite, on a good grappler, you've probably already lost. They're most likely going to beat you. So the second, whether it was in the process of your back getting taken, hands are going to come up, and I want you to watch my left foot, okay? And I'm also going to look at Juan. I'm going here like this. I'm going to look at Juan. If you didn't know why I said look at him, the elbow lining up with my chin is the crucial detail to strangle me. When I start to do this, even with a decent wrap, look at how far away this artery is. We always have to remember in life to face our problems. Okay? So my initial reaction is I'm controlling and my left foot. Why is my left foot coming up? Because I want to do everything in my power not to get pulled to this side. Unless it's my choice to go to this side to escape, he has many more options over here that I don't want to deal with. Okay, so I'm going to have two hands on his arm, and I'm going to lay down and put all of the weight on the arm. I'm going to try to turn Juan so you can see this better on camera. I'm going to lay down, and I'm going to go here like this. The reason I'm laying on this arm is because even if I was to let go, it becomes very difficult for him to wrap this. Why? My body weight's on it. I'm laying on that arm. I'm pinning it to the ground. If I remove that weight at all, he can punch and he can secure the choke. So again, don't try to get good at escaping. Get good at being comfortable. Right? While they're trying to strangle you, sit here and go, no, just hang out or relax. That's good jiu-jitsu, okay? Why is my weight on the leg? Because if this hook can stay in, I can't free my hip. But if I keep weight on this leg and I pop that hip, it's gonna come out, okay? We talked about that, come back up, and if you wanna see the full escape going into how to hip out, everything like that, please just go back to the other video, but I just wanted to review quickly. And we talked about when they switch to a short choke, there's a vital window for you to escape, okay? Let's get back just a little bit to make sure we're not off camera. Okay, so we're here. When I drop, we're gonna go super slow motion so you can see this transition. I start to control. As I'm going down, he trades this underhook for a short choke attempt. That means he doesn't have control of the upper body. I'm gonna turn my body and I'm gonna square up. Okay? When he lets go of the left arm underhook, you have to think, what does he have locking my upper body in place? There's not anything. Even though his hooks are still in, a violent hip turn can turn you up on top. You just have to recognize before that clamp of the short choke, stresses you out and makes you focus on that now's your time to escape. So one last time, right? So what was my immediate reaction? It was a three-part system. Here, I'm like, no, I don't want to get finished here. As I start to lay down, Juan's like, short choke. I'm like, nope, turn, we're good. We're ready to grapple, okay? So in my book, if my partner transitions for that short choke, he did that on my terms. I made him make that choice. In his mind, he might think like, oh, I'm going for this move. But that's not you choosing to go for that move. Because I was escaping, you attacked that. And that's bad theory. I don't think you should play that style of jiu-jitsu because I'm probably baiting you to do that if I've grappled long enough, okay? If you're losing your position, re-secure your position, then attack. Don't attack because you're losing a position. It's the wrong fight. The fight is, can I keep the position, right? All right, so we're gonna introduce our first series today. And I'm gonna go a little bit down the road with how to create like a step-by-step system and like games you can play to get good at each step along the way. And if Master Perez can think of any questions that people at home might ask, hopefully he will. And I'll try to think, from an outside perspective, what, might I not recognize during a tutorial that I would need to know. Okay, so here we go. I got Master Perez's back, and we're gonna start to create systems. So before you ever create a system, make sure you have your rear naked choke down. Make sure you have your short choke down. If you don't have those, we can't build into effective attacks, okay? So we're gonna talk about in the first series, when I get him to the side I want him on, what does my body positioning look like? What changes? And then how do I start breaking down his defense? Okay, you're gonna hear repetitive patterns out of me. One of the things you're gonna hear a lot is I want to shut down defense. If you can be defensive, it's hard for me to attack. If I can take those defenses away from you, it gives me opportunity to get the submission, okay? We're gonna turn you on a little bit of an angle because I feel like, and slide over to our right. When we fall, we're gonna be like close and I wanna make sure we're not out of the shot. So let's scoot back one more time. Okay, so here, I secured Master Perez's back and I'm gonna fall to the side of my underhook. I want you guys to actually watch my legs first because falling over is like a child's concept. Anyone can do this. Back up. Anyone can fall. But if you watch how much my legs actually change, you'll see a very, very important detail in my jiu-jitsu. When I'm here, do you see the difference in my legs? You have to understand how to do this first. Don't leave this. When I fall to this side, he has to be able to get over this leg. So the lower this leg is down, yes, the easier it's gonna be for Master Perez to escape. If I'm choosing to put him onto that side, I have to understand what problems can come with that and be ready to counter those. So as you notice, I had a good seatbelt. I was here like this. Look at my left leg as I fall. It's almost like a body triangle. It's almost like I want to go to this, but I'll never body triangle on this side, and I'll tell you why. If I body triangle Juan when I'm here, I'm encouraging Juan to go to the other side because that's the correct response to a body triangle. And now I have to start all over, okay? And if that's part of my theory, if I want him to go over there, body triangle is a great decision. He's gonna say, oh, I can't get out. If I body triangle you, he's not gonna be able to get out on this side. He can't make my knee just disconnect from my leg. So he has to get to the other side. So if I wanted my opponent on my other side, I would absolutely always do this. It's gonna encourage it, but I wanna keep him on this side, so you're gonna see me like this. If you notice, my right foot is not even in the legs anymore. We're not gonna do this. We're gonna be here like this, and I'm gonna explain why, okay? So I want you to focus on, before you try to progress in this series I'm about to show, I want you to remember, you have to have good positioning. So first, if your seatbelt looks like this with your partner, you guys should have already pointed that out. Look, yeah, it's already wrong. You need to start from everything being correct. Fall, watch my legs. Here, notice that my head is next to Master Perez's. Even if I do the legs right, but I leave my head behind, look at how much more effective he is at starting to turn and starting to twist because I've given up the locking pressure on this side. Makes sense? So if you choose to go to your left, or if you were left-handed or you play a seatbelt like this to the other side, you have to dominate that position. Okay? So we all got step one now. Here, bang, like this. I'm ready. I'm in this locking position. His head never gets to get in front of my head, and it never gets to get to the floor. Now, one thing I always do is, I told you guys earlier, if this hand comes up, I take it away, right? I don't wait for that.
There's no reason. As soon as I start to fall, I'm just going to go get that hand. Right? Why wait so that on his time, whenever he wants, I have to try to win that fight and be ready for it? Why not just on the way down? As soon as I decide, I'm here like this, as soon as I decide, that hand's not coming into the fight anymore. And notice what my right hand did. Did I leave my hand here? No, I try to create advantage right off the bat. Okay, so here's going to be the first part of the series. We're going to do that in one motion, and it pretty much only leaves our opponent with one reaction. They have to defend the arm that's attacking their neck. Otherwise, I'm going to strangle you, right? So if we can already preemptively know we were here, we start to attack. We can count on the fact that they're going to grab that arm. I want to talk about real quick a squeeze that you can tap most beginners with. If you anchor to their back and you pull pressure across the front of the neck, almost everybody will tap that's newer to jiu-jitsu because it creates a tremendous crush here. It's not a good blood choke in most cases, but if they tap, that's a submission, okay? So whenever I first go here, I actually always pull back with my elbow to test my opponent. If they're very calm and composed, I'm like, okay, they have good jiu-jitsu. As I start to pull, he's going to pull. He doesn't want me strangling, and he's going to be trying to take that arm off. I'm going to swing my right arm down, and as I swing my right arm down, my leg is going to just draw a small circle. Okay? Not only do I make a small circle with my foot, if you watch my hip actually circles so that I can pivot my foot to Juan's back. If I leave my foot in the front, and a lot of jiu-jitsu guys do this, I still have the arm trapped, but his arm has more likelihood to pummel through and get back out and be able to fight here, right? Or just still be able to come up and be in the battle. Versus when I tuck it to the back, bring that arm up, it's not even in the same realm. If I'm here, look at how much better that is. And I might still be able to keep it, maybe. I might still finish one. But why not practice with the highest probability of keeping what we created, okay? So, again, step one of the series, we're going to go through the finish this. Here, look at my reaction as I fall. I'm already ready to go. I test him with that squeeze. That'll make people panic, okay? He grabs on tight. I'm going to swing my right arm and pivot. I got it. This foot is clamping up and in on the diaphragm. This foot is pressing into the back as I actually pull my knee down a little bit. This looks good, but it's actually easier for Juan to continue to manipulate his arm and try to fight. When I drop the right knee lower, it makes this clamp very, very tight. Bring this arm up. You can't because of this pressure, right? Yep. From this position, again, if you have a good squeeze, you just have to get under the neck. I'm going to try to take that off your arm so I don't just sit here and torque it the whole time. People will tuck their chin, right? If I can get under his neck, he's done. Just touch the nose with the bone of your wrist. Here, like this, right there. As soon as you get that, you're just going to squeeze. You'll get the tap. That's a good blood choke. On beginners, you can just do this, and you'll get the tap due to discomfort. Okay? So let's look again, and I'm going to go a little more detail with a couple of the real specific things, and then this is going to be part one, okay? And then I'm going to have Master Perez drilling this to me so I can point details from the front person's perspective that you should be looking for in your partner's game. Okay, so I'm here. Remember, super slow motion this time. I'm on the back as I fall. It's a two-part motion, right? I've attacked and I've attacked while adjusting my legs. Okay? I start to apply that pressure. It's going to make him react. What if he doesn't react? Then you're going to submit him anyway. When he starts to pull on the arm, right? I actually pull harder. Every time I'll pull more, so that makes him really pull, and then I go swing, circle. I got it. Okay? If you notice this wrist, I didn't talk about that last time. When I really want to maintain this, I rev this wrist as hard as I can. If I leave this wrist disengaged, the open doorway to get out is the direction his arm needs to go. Right now, if he tries to bring it back into the fight when he breaks it, so like get out and then come back in with it, I'm just going to catch it again. But why do I want to be sitting here worrying about, okay, I lost the arm, I got the arm, get it out? I lost the arm, I don't want to do that. I just rev my wrist. Get the arm out. Right? It's an anchor now. You can see on camera, this is how he has to break free. So go, right? I'm taking that aspect and I'm putting it into his body. Now with all the strength in my wrist, when he tries to drive down, I'm just maintaining, I allow my arm to move with his arm. We can do this. That's the doorway. Make sense? So one last time, we'll do everything together and you guys will have part one. So here we go. Like this, seatbelt, ready to rock and roll. We don't wait for our opponent. We immediately say, okay, I got three jobs here, right? Start to apply that squeeze. They don't want to stay there. Swing, trap, tuck. What does my knee do? Pulls pressure down. Master Perez will tell you just by dropping that knee, how does that feel compared to this?
No.
This is nothing.
Pressure, yeah.
Yeah, you might actually be able to pummel down low, go try. Yeah, and you might get back out. But if I drop that knee low, pummel.
Yeah, even my bicep is in pain.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to tear your arm,
Yeah.
right? And this wrist is huge. If you get to this position and you find that you lose this grip, you're probably trying to just hold. You understand? And then that way you're encouraging the person to try to fight. When I do this, in a quick period of time, he's going to realize this arm is stuck. Okay? If you can't get under the chin, like I said, be careful with your partners with this, but just touch their nose. Reach deep. Practice your squeeze, or if you just pull back, you'll get the tap. Master Perez never taps easy, but when I do this, that's a guarantee.
Yeah, it is.
There's so much crush, so much pressure, and you have no defense. I've removed your ability to fight with your left arm. I've removed your ability to fight with your right arm, and you're being strangled. So it's just a slow death process, okay? So final time, just showing it, and then we're gonna move on, all right? So as soon as I go here, you're gonna see me fall, three things happen. Leg change, bang, I get that, I'm here, right? You start to attack. If your partner doesn't try to take that arm off, they're done, right? Test them with discomfort, did they tap? Test them with a blood choke, did they tap? When they start to pull really hard, pull harder for a second, swing. Trap. What does the knee do? Turns down. Keep that pressure. Keep this pressure. Look for the neck. If you're not good at getting under the neck here like this, you can actually also rock your opponent up. I can rock him up, and then I can just freely sit here and take my time. I never do this. I always just stay here. And if you're willing to tuck your chin and play that game, I'll do one of two things. I'm either going to go here, or I'll just put it across your chin. I'll just start to attack, and that is awful. It'll feel like your jaw's going to snap. I will do this sometimes. We'll get into that later. I'll cover the nose and the mouth. But if you just take this bone and you touch the person's jaw, they're going to react to it. They're either just going to tap to that, or they're going to elevate that chin because they hate that pressure, and then you're going to go to the choke anyway. Make sense? All right, so real quick, I'm going to put Master Perez on my back. Have him do the same series. Let's move over a little bit so I can point out a couple details, and then we're going to go into the next part. So, switch. Yep. Okay, so here like this, again, I got my back taken. The first battle that I should have already done, remember from the beginning, was this. But either he beat me to that, or I didn't react quickly enough, or I didn't know this. He pulls me to the side. As he does, left arm comes down. Here, this leg elevates, and he's already putting a threat. Test both type of grapplers. Okay, notice his wrist just started to engage. Grab the shoulder and pull back and long with your elbow. Yeah, that's to discomfort. You need to test people to see their level of jiu-jitsu. If you start pulling back there and they're not reacting and they're continuing to fight, okay, don't try to finish with that. Don't burn your arms out. Try to go deeper and see if you can get a blood choke if they're not defending the arm. And he could. Master Perez could blood choke me here. Now, if, okay, I couldn't tap into pressure and I couldn't get that blood choke, and I start reaching up and grabbing, when I pull, you pull harder, swing. He's going to tuck it behind my back. Now it's done. Unless I can pull my right arm through my body, I've lost that. He's elevated the left hook enough that I can't turn over it. He's taken away my left hand. And now if I try to tuck, he's just going to dig, yes, under, and then finish the squeeze. That's it. Excellent. Make sense? Partners, just like in last class, what we talked about, when you have someone drilling with you, you have to try to seek every mistake that you can find.
Okay? And like, that's why I'm doing this with Master Perez on the video, because I want you to see, like, as he was doing that, and he knows this technique very well, he's used this, but he would, rev the wrist a little bit more. Oh, do this a little bit more. Add in this detail. Don't worry about speed at all. I don't care about speed when we're practicing jiu-jitsu. I care about, do you understand why each step of the game works? If you play jiu-jitsu like this, you can be very, very successful. Okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple drills that you should do before you even worry about trying to beat someone in a regular match with this. We're going to break it down to steps like we did with our techniques last time. Okay, so when Master Perez has my back, the first step that's going to take place is once he pulls me to the underhook side, he's going to take away this left hand and keep this leg nice and high. So grab that left arm, Juan. And now the first drill you guys should do at home is you should just see if you can fight this arm free. So Master Perez is going to engage that arm, and I'm going to fight and try to get this free. Okay, and you have to work on this control. If you disengage your wrist even a little bit, so take a little bit of bend off, now try to hold it with that wrist bend. See how your fingers break, right? So we have to practice this. We have to get good enough that you may not ever be able to always keep your partner's arm based on size and strength difference, but you have to at least develop that understanding of why this works. Now, from that point, if they ever do break free, so I'm pressing and I break free, when I try to bring it back into the fight, your arm is always going to be there. So regardless of where when I break free, I could try to come back in sneakily right away. He's already got it. Or I could try to draw like a big circle and he's there. You understand? He can always be on the inside because even though I broke free, his arm is closer to the situation than mine is. So regardless of what you see, that's what I wanted them to see on camera. Regardless of where I try to come back into the fight, you're already waiting. You're already ready to attack. Does this make sense? And remember, if they ever get the hand back into the fight, I'm going to just sit up so you guys can see this one. But if I was able to get this, because this is the biggest thing you want to avoid, you don't want this left hand controlling your attacking arm. You're going to push it away to pummel to then break the grip and fight free. You're just going to repeat that series, okay? If you keep this squeezing super tight, so squeeze really tight in the chest, you might not be able to get your own arm in. Does that make sense? Try to bring your arm through. There's no gap. But if he drives this away, he can pummel, and then he can start to attack. Makes sense? And then we can go back to the series that we want. All right? So let's take this knowledge now. I'm going to ask Master Perez if he can think of any questions, and then we're going to go to the second part of the series. You took somebody's back. You tried everything in your power. You trapped their arm. You cannot get the choke, right? I'm going to show you an armbar off this same series. Anything that you can think of that people at home might have a question for?
Just the grip.
Yes.
When you go down, you have to twist it. Sometimes I don't have the strength, but when you push that, I want to know how do you press that hand into.
That's a great concept. Yeah. I think what Master Perez is talking about is when I do the grip, it feels incredibly like locked and overbearing. Yeah. One of the things I'm doing is I'm squeezing with my lat and my body to pull it into me. I'm not pushing down or trying to just use my wrist. Okay. I'm trying to almost like I'm going to give you like a really tight hug. Like I'm going to take all the space that's in here away from us. So I'm using my back strength to compress the same way like we're going to get choked. Like if we did this, we will get the tap. But if we add in that compression, it's so much worse. So the reason mine feels so strong is I'm not just twisting and squeezing.
Using the power of the wrist, you're using the whole.
Yes. I can actually feel my lat engage and squeeze. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to suck that into your body. Yeah. Like I'm trying to compress all of my strength into one area. So what I'm doing, and that's a phenomenal question. At home, if you were able to break free really simple, you probably have to learn that squeeze. One of the things we talked about last class is a lot of times in the beginning of jiu-jitsu, people don't really have a squeeze. No. Because we don't do that in regular life. When in regular life do you use your back to squeeze like that? It's very rare. So phenomenal question. Yeah. And remember, just look at it from a technical understanding. If my hand is facing this direction, in any grip, he's always trying to fight to where the opening is. Even if I was doing a key lock or anything else, if I went to key lock somebody, which we'll get to later, if my hand is like this, the opening is the direction the arm has to go. But if I rev my wrist, I've closed the doorway. Does that make sense? So your grips, you should always do everything in your power to compound your strength with other elements from your body, but also you got to think, what is the doorway that they want to go out, and how can I change that doorway? When I roll my wrist in, I'm actually making the exit point of my grip into your stomach.
Yeah.
But I'm squeezing in your belly, so it can't go that way. You can't go through your own stomach to pull your arm back out. But if I leave my hand like this, right, you're going to go down. Or, like Master Perez said, if I rev the wrist but I leave my arm loose, it's just the strength of my arm. Can my arm strength hold your hand in position, or would I rather use, you see, like I'm tucking my elbow, my body? And I'm going to squeeze this down to make sure that you can't get your arm free. That's a phenomenal question. And that's why if you cut the video back, I said don't even worry about doing the series. Don't worry about getting the choke. First worry about, can you keep the arm? It would be better if you want to become a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner, if you invested 30 minutes just trying to hold that arm versus 30 minutes doing the series over and over and over. I believe you'll have a higher success rate. And that's how a lot of people don't want to train. You probably see that in Taekwondo. There's probably certain things that if someone was to repeat just a fundamental concept over and over and over with no fanciness, with nothing added on, they would probably get much better.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So I want you guys at home, if you're watching these tapes to try to master this science of jiu-jitsu, don't worry about what it looks like yet. Don't worry about how cool it feels to go here, to trap the arm, to do this, to lift up the chin, to get... Think about, am I going to be efficient at doing this when it matters? In a tournament, in a self-defense situation, in a fight. The reason that most elite jiu-jitsu practitioners are able to be successful is because they've drilled things like this so much that the moment they can get enough of an advantage, it's going to be the end of the fight. Okay, so again, when you fall to the side, before you advance, if you want to try to master this, just work on controlling the arm. And now don't get me wrong, if it's someone that's 120 pounds and your partner's 270, you might not be able to keep the arm. But the beautiful thing is I don't actually have to keep it. Even if you're so strong you get away, every second that you don't have this arm in the fight is a great opportunity for me to attack your neck. And you know what? My arm's on the inside. So when you break your arm free, my arm's sitting there waiting. You try to bring it back in close, so I'm going to take it away and go here. You try to make a big circle, I'm going to be waiting for when you come back. And either way, even if you get my hand like we talked about, we're going to move the arm away for a second. We're going to re-attack it. We're going to bring it down and we're going to continue our series. Okay? So let's, real quick, we're going to talk about how to turn this into an arm bar, right? And then we're going to build off that point. We'll probably show the regular arm bar as well. And then that would probably be sufficient for our second class. I don't want to go so far. Our first one yesterday, we filmed an hour and 7 minutes of technique. Honestly, if you take that video and you just worked on that alone for weeks, you would have more progress than if you continually, skip through our videos. So let's build the armbar off this. Okay, so I have the back mount position, right? I've got my good seatbelt. I'm learning these classes. As I fall down, I have 3 parts. At home, before I even fall down, you should say what they are. You should already know what 3 things are going to take place. I'm here like this, right? I'm ready to attack. Now, the same exact series comes into play. Pull on his neck, and I make sure that my wrist is strong. When he pulls the arm, I do the same trap. So now we're here. Most people, when you develop your proficiency at this, you're going to finish from here. But you'll run into jiu-jitsu practitioners that even still, they're just so hard to get these finishing details. You get their chin up, but then when you go, it goes back down. You'll run into this. So from this position, I'm going to make sure that this arm stays trapped by keeping that good pressure, which I'm not going to do the whole time I'm talking because it's very tight on his arm. Master Perez will tell you the amount of pressure that I can put on their bicep just from this, it feels like it's going to tear your bicep.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm not going to be pulling down if you watch my knee while I'm demonstrating, but it's only to save my partner because I'm talking so much. In a regular match, I'll never take that pressure away. Okay, so from here, I cannot get his neck. You tell me, James, I've tried everything. I cannot get the neck. You have 2 options. Option number 1 is going to be the arm bar, which I'm going to show. Or if you like prison rule style jiu-jitsu, you can cover the opponent's nose and mouth and try to make them panic. The amount of people that in a regular roll will panic will blow you away. Remember, you're not being blood choked. You can hold your breath for a minute. Open your mouth wide and breathe. You'll be fine. But people don't. They panic. Okay? So this doesn't work. I'm going to transition. Watch my red arm. I'm going to bring it over Master Perez's head. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to bring my hand here and try to get this arm. Do you notice how instinctually he already knows to start turning towards me? Because if I go to attack his arm, I have to disengage on this arm, which is the only thing keeping him from spinning. Okay, so there's a step in this move that I'm slowing down to show that everyone forgets because they just want to get the arm bar, and it's the reason you won't get the arm bar. You went here, he attacked your arm, you attacked the arm so I don't attack your neck. Yep, here, swing, trap, we're here. We could not get the neck. We don't want to kill them like this, or he's not fazed by it. He opens his mouth wide, he continues to breathe, he stays calm, he doesn't panic. Okay, my entire arm is going to clear the head, and I'm going to make sure that Master Perez knows that my arm's there. I'm not going to do this the whole demonstration so I don't have pressure, but when I actually do it, I bring my elbow as close to my leg as possible. If you see this, turn towards me, Master Perez. Right? He's not going to be able to turn, right? Because I'm laying my arm, again, with my back squeeze here. I know he can't turn into me now. If I'm here, I'm already almost telling him, the second I take that arm out, you make sure you spin, and he would escape. Okay, once we go here, we're going to change our grip. I'm going to push the arm down, and I'm just going to change the grip. So I went from my left hand controlling the wrist to my right, and I just grabbed my arm. I'm not worried about him bringing the arm up anymore because I'm not looking for a choke. I'm going to switch to the arm bar. Here's the key that most people mess up. If you try to bring the leg over now, it's going to take a ton of dexterity, and you don't have good pressure. If you start to rock the boat far enough, and then he goes here. Now my leg is on the ground, and it's going to be too slow of a transition, and he's going to turn up, okay? There's this tipping point that you're going to feel when you drill this, that the second his weight starts to come off this bottom leg, that's your go time. And the higher you bring this bottom leg, the cleaner this technique is going to look, okay? So I'm going to be here like this, right, the whole thing. Boom, trap, here, right, over, transition, I'm here. Watch the second, see how his weight is flat on the ground. See how his weight comes up? Back down. See how his weight comes up? As soon as I start to bring that up, I'm going to turn my entire hip, and I'm going to point my knees down until I can square up into this position. Once I'm there, I'm going to bring the hand down and back. And can anyone tell me at home, think about this. Before I even clamp my knees and my feet, why did I actually turn his hand down? Why didn't I go like this immediately? It's because of the hitchhike escape. So many people are so proficient at the hitchhike that when I'm here, if he can, turn that shoulder, he now drags my leg by, and I just did all that to get in bottom side control and lose my advantage. We should probably slide down a little bit just to make sure we can go off camera. So we have to make sure to prevent what we expect our opponent to do. I can tell you that a lot of people are going to try to hitchhike, okay? So the whole series, I know there's a lot to it. Here, bang, trap, like this, over, here, got it. Weight starts moving. Look at the hook that I have on Master Perez's leg with my left foot. I don't want to just leave my foot here lazy and like pick him up. See how I can almost, Would that ruin my armbar? Absolutely. If I end up going here and he has this leg trapped, he can then keep my knees wide. He can elbow to the mat. He has all kind of options. So as I'm making this transition, I have to be thinking of those things. Am I doing what's necessary to make sure I can get to my next step? Okay? So here, like this, right? I start to attack. Boom, here, over, here, ready to go. Look at the leg. Is his weight on me? No. My leg's going to transition over, and I'm going to come up. I'm ready. Watch how I turn his hand. Hitchhike, Master Perez? There's no way, right? Now, tons of coaches will talk about this. They'll say, you have to point the thumb to the sky for the arm bar. You're going to hear this throughout your career. Watch what happens if you try to quickly point the thumb up. You're almost encouraging a hitchhike. You absolutely do not need to, I'm going to be very careful with your arm. You do not need to point the thumb to the sky to break an arm. Look at his arm. It is perfectly straight up and down for the break. His thumb is turned as far down as I can. If I barely begin to elevate, he tapped. Why did he tap? He tapped because the joint is what we are attacking. We're not attacking the wrist. Even if Master Perez's joint was lined up here and we turn your hand all the way over the opposite way, you can break the joint here. Obviously, he would hitchhike, but this is an arm bar, right? This is an arm bar, right? Watch this. Let's turn his arm. Turn your thumb up, though, but leave your elbow. Is this an arm bar? No, it's not even close to an arm bar. So if you focus on the thumb, if you're like, oh, I got the thumb up. Look at this. I have the thumb up. Just let the thumb be relaxed and up so they can see it on camera. This is a perfect thumb up, right? So you're thinking, Coach, I got it. I got the thumb up. This is not an arm bar. I want you to focus on the joint being up. If the thumb is also up, excellent. If you navigated the joint, fine. But if you turn the person's thumb, you're encouraging that hitchhike escape. Okay? So when I turn the hand down, if you notice his hand's down, he cannot hitchhike. Just try to turn your wrist for a hitchhike. No, there's no way. My knees are clamped, my feet are squeezing in, and I'm going light because I don't want to put pressure on him. But I'm going to keep pressure pulling down, and I'm going to begin to elevate my hips. Another big, I'm going to have you do it to me now. So another big detail that I want you to recognize is there can't be space. It's hard for me to do all these things super tight and not hurt my partner. So sometimes you're going to see little gaps that I'm not doing, but it's because otherwise, if I do them correctly, it's too much pressure.
Yeah, right there it was.
It feels like your arm's going to break.
Yeah.
Now, that is without me tightening his arm down to my chest. There should never be any space between his arm and the connection to my chest. Also, I shouldn't be trying to hold the arm like this. Again, we always want all of our body. This is my arm. Make sense? If I'm just trying to like squeeze it to me, just the strength of my triceps and maybe a little bit of my shoulders is contributing to whether you can flex your arm out or not. Right? If I was just trying to hold you like this, if he can pull his arm back and it makes my arms move, he can escape. But when I clamp it down, my elbows go down, down, it's my arm. It's like I'm holding on to something for dear life. Because we're at the point in the match that if I can keep this advantage that I have, I'm going to win. I'm going to finish the fight with a submission and we're going to move on. Okay? So one last time and we'll break the armbar details down. And then I'll have Master Perez ask me any questions that you can think about, just in general. And then we'll do a quick review at the end with the whole series that we've taught today. So that way we don't have hour classes every time. People can do segments. And again, if you watch these videos and you have a question that we don't address in the video, feel free to ask me, okay? There's so much to this game, so much complexity, that I would rather you say, why do I do this? Or why should I do that? Than not ask me. If you're trying to learn the science behind something, please, we love those questions. Good instructors love someone that wants to know why. Okay, so one last time, we're here. We've learned each step of what we've done today, okay? So we had a three-part motion. Initially, we took the person's arm, we start to attack their neck, they start to defend, we swing, we trap here like this. The second we get there like that, we're gonna bring our arm over. I'm not doing this. I don't wanna encourage him. I wanna be like, don't even look at what I'm about to do to you. You see? I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna take pressure off Juan just so I'm not killing him during this demonstration. Watch my left foot. Right now, his weight's on my leg, right? That's gonna keep my hip. I'm gonna take the weight off the leg. Right? I bring my leg up and over and bite down. As I start to come up, watch how I control his hand. Here. Now, I'm going to try to keep all the pressure off my hips just so I can show the arm details more. Look at how his arm is glued to my chest. Obviously, don't worry about my legs right now because I'm keeping them very loose so I don't hurt Master Perez. But I'm anchoring this. I'm not doing this. I'm not trying to control by the elbow. For every degree lower that I grab on Master Perez's arm is more likelihood he can pull back. If I held here like this, he's significantly stronger than if I hold here like this, pull back. Yes. Now, if I hold here like this, pull back. And I'm barely squeezing. It's just leverage. So you want to think control and bite it into your body. Then if you add in your legs, a lot of times you won't even have to barely bridge. If I just keep my legs in good position and I didn't armbar yet. I didn't do it late, but because I had everything so tight initially, it's going to be the tap. Does that make sense? So I'm going to have Master Perez do it to me one time real quick because my arms are a little flexible. So he's here. You can just go right to the armbar. Bring the leg over, right? So I want you guys to look, okay? Notice my thumb, okay? Even if he had it that way, he can armbar, but it would encourage me to hitchhike. If he turns the hand all the way down, as long as the elbow stays up, it's beautiful. And I prefer this finish because then I don't even have to worry about the armbar. About the hitchhike. If he tries to, somewhere his coach told him to turn the thumb up and he twists that thumb, that's going to be my moment that I'm gonna run that. And I do that to a lot of my beginners and people is I'll purposely turn my hand down, okay, because they'll think like, oh, this is not an armbar. If you just clamp your knees from this position, have your feet, and you start to bridge up, you can just go ahead and finish the armbar.
He can finish this. Now tighten your elbows down to your side like you're holding something for dear life. I'm going to try to pull my arm back. You just hold it. There is no way in the world I can get. He can probably with one arm. So just pick one of your arms, squeeze it tight. I'm going to try my hardest. I can't get my arm back, okay? And you at home that are saying, well, I'm weak, it is what it is. You try to get your arm back, okay? Go back to 2 arms. But if you get, and tighten your elbows, I can feel the difference. Yes! Okay, here, if you get to this position, just finish the arm bar. Got it. If you start to, so I turn my hand, because I know my opponent's going to try to turn my thumb. As soon as he does, I'm going to run that position right up and out. Okay, I'm going to roll over my shoulder, I'm going to come up, and I baited you into giving me that option. You already have the joint in a position where it's going to break. This is a done deal. Okay, so, and remember, that doesn't mean that you can't finish thumb up. You absolutely can. Hit your elbow super tight, Master Perez. I'm just telling you that I'm more likely to try to go this direction. Okay, so, if you would like to finish this way, knees clamped extremely tight, feet come to, yes. Notice his knees aren't wide. Notice his feet are tight. Notice his elbows, tuck them tighter to your ribs. Yes, it's game over, right? This is how we finish. Or he can have my hand turned down. Now there's no hitchhike in the world. There's no way I can come up. If I want to sit up, this leg stays heavy. And then he finishes. Got it. Makes sense. So I'm going to have Master Perez do the entire series to me right here on the spot. We're going to put him on the spot. And then, and yeah, we'll see if there's any questions. Let's switch your seatbelt grip. Okay, so remember, and this is something that people develop habits, okay? And when you have a habit, you got to consciously attack it. Because our brain always tries to go when Master Perez goes to this, he cannot stop me from coming up and going here. Because his hand is committed, look, it as a job. You see? This feels better. And a lot of people will create things like that because like we learn to gable grip, we learn to crush, we learn to bear hug. So if you seatbelt someone's back like the way, like this, you cannot, unless, and if you disengage, you're going to have your hand the wrong direction to try to get there before I'm going to get your hand. Whereas when you use the regular grip, other switch, he's sitting here waiting. The second I go to bring this hand into the fight, I don't get to bring the hand into the fight, and then I get strangled. Okay, so let's do the whole thing. We're going to put Master Perez on the spot. He's going to pull me to the side. His leg's going to shift. He's going to take my arm. He's right where he wants to be. I didn't even talk about in the video, why is this foot here? Just because it's so much closer for the trap. If you were to leave your foot way down low, down here like this, or you were, now it's so far from the hook. Why don't we body triangle? Because we don't want to encourage them to go to the other side. We don't want to help our partners, okay? So he's got this red. He's here. But let's say I don't fight. Let's say I don't try to attack this. Let's say I strangle me. Finish. So you know I'm going to fight. When I go to fight, I yank, I pull. He traps. We're here. Now, you have many ways to finish. You can attack on the jaw. Yes, to the neck. You can crush the jaw. Yes, tap. Or you can cover the nose and mouth. Cover the nose. People freak out and they tap, okay? Go watch Wagner Hocha on YouTube. He taps everyone with that. Everyone. Because they panic. The second he covers your mouth, this is going to sound funny. Go. Uncover for a second. I want you to actually try to stop my breathing, and I'm going to show you guys literally the count. I'm going to open my mouth as wide as I can. So cover, go.
No way I can.
You see, you can't. It's silly. But people panic because it's a survival response. When he covers my nose and mouth, this is what most people do. What's that? Yeah. Don't panic. Go, yeah. You can't do it unless you got banana hands. You're not. And even still, I'm going to create gaps. You can't stop that airflow. You're not going to get a perfect suction. Even if you were trying, I'd add a little motion. I'll have plenty of air. Don't panic. Okay, if you're a white belt, I promise you'll panic, but it'll be okay. All right, so again, he tried everything. He can't get it. He decides, I'm going to arm bar. He's going to bring his right arm over the head. He's going to make me look at this. He's got a clamp. He's not allowing me to turn in because I know the second you let go of this arm, Master Perez, I'm spinning out of here. Okay, so he has to make sure that I feel this clamp. He switches his grip. Yep, bring the leg up and over the face. This leg here, bring the arm back. Now, again, look at here. Knees clamp as tight as possible. Feet squeezing together. Tuck the elbows down and pull the hands into the chest first. Yes, that is actually more important than initially raising your hips. Because if you leave the tiniest gap, that might be enough that I might be able to get back to my hand. But if you keep it squeezed this doesn't even feel like my arm anymore. This is his arm. And then the hip's just the finishing detail. Make sense? But if you're loose on this grip here, or you don't have those elbows tucked and I can get to my hand, now all of a sudden I can start to mount defense and I can look to escape. Okay? So, Master Perez, any questions that you can think of? Anything I talked about with the arms, anything with the arm bar, anything that home people might think?
Creating bad habits about what you talk about. We need to remember that it has to be on top of the
hand, absolutely.
Yeah,
The seatbelt choke is going to be over here like this, okay? And we'll go into more depth on that, actually, why later, because it goes into other elements of our back system. But you just got to remember, don't trust your body's natural responses.
Yeah.
You'll create habits like you'll do certain takedowns using a grip or a different grip that you like, and your body will naturally say, I like that grip. I like the way that this feels. I'm going to apply it to this position. A lot of times that's wrong, because just because it's good for one thing, that has no correlation to mean that it is necessarily good for the other thing, unless you can explain why. So as soon as Master Perez went there, because it is a habit for him to go here, I showed him that like now this hand is tied up. It has a job. If I have the hand here, it does have a job, but it's waiting to do its job. This guy's ready to work. He's immediately going to take away your defense from you. This guy's already tied up. And when I let go, I then have to turn my wrist and look to attack. It may not seem like a lot, but it's those little moments, those little seconds that separate high-level grapplers, right? Plus, if I was doing something like this, I'm trying to bring this whole side of my hand to threaten someone's neck versus the blade. When I'm here like this, I have that part that when I touch your nose is just brutal. I have this ready to attack you at all times. If I turn it, I'm using the back of my hand. I would way rather someone try to crush my face with the back of their hand or attack my neck than with the blade. Okay? So that's a phenomenal question.
Another thing that I noticed, that when you finish the choke, the choke also, you press with your leg. My arm, my bicep also was crashing.
Yes.
When you are, you can press your whole body.
Yes.
Into it.
So again, it's back to squeezing. That's another phenomenal concept. Just because I have the neck doesn't mean that I should ever just use my arm. Why, if we have the ability to compound our strength with other elements, wouldn't we do that? A lot of times in your mind, you're just like, oh, I have the choke and now I just have to squeeze. Squeeze with everything. Like that's what Master Perez is saying, is my squeeze, it feels so overwhelming because I'm not squeezing you with my arm.
Yeah, it was right here. This arm kept tight and the neck.
It's just too much at once. It compounds, okay? So instead of having to solve one tiny problem, or if I'm only attacking with my arm, he only has to win that fight to survive. He's being overwhelmed on the pressure on his arm. His neck is being strangled extremely tight. He cannot move his chance for defenses. And my leg is draped high across the body so he can't hip escape over. And my other foot has already trapped his arm. So every part of my body is doing a job to shut down your defense. And that's how you want to think of yourself as a high-level grappler. Like in countless positions that I'll see in jiu-jitsu, like someone will have like a triangle choke, and when they have the triangle, maybe they remembered most of it. They had a triangle, they turned the knees, they had an angle, they might have a good hip, right? And then this is keeping an angle and their left hand is doing nothing. You should be asking yourself the question, or asking your coach the question, what could my left hand be doing to make this even more effective? Well, if I'm trying to control someone's posture in a triangle choke, I should add to that control. Or if I get to this position and maybe you remember to control the head and your right hand's on the mat, why is your right hand not doing a job? That should be keeping the angle, or the underhook on the arm, or the leg, or the stomach. But I try to think about my jiu-jitsu in a way that like I want to take every single advantage that my body can give me over my opponent's body and apply them all at once. It's way harder to solve 7 problems thrown at you than one thing that you have to deal with. Right? If I give you one problem, you'll try to present one solution. When I attack you with every single limb, it's back to the thing that we talked about last class. Mm-hmm. It staggers such a big advantage between you and I that that's usually why you'll get submitted. Anything else?
And the armbar also.
Oh, and the armbar.
Yeah. Your legs are tight everything is tight and my arm is straight. Some people just leave their arm thinking and they just their arm is going to be and the hip is going to finish the arm bar, but their legs, they're not crunchy enough or tight enough to finish that arm bar.
That's a phenomenal point.
Yeah.
If you're at home and the person's putting you in the arm bar and it doesn't feel very bad, like, oh, just careful, you're going to hurt my elbow. There's problems in that submission. Okay, I can't even fully apply the submission correctly without my opponent already starting to feel the effect on the elbow, right? So I would have to, when I was demonstrating how well you should keep pressure on the upper body, I was taking pressure off my legs for Master Perez's arm. When I would make my legs tight, clamped, squeezing, pressure on the head, pressure on the chest with my hamstrings, I was removing pressure from the chest with the arm. Because when you compound all these factors, it just feels like my arm's gonna break like a toothpick. Please don't squeeze like that, right? But think about it each step of the way. Like the way that I had Master Perez control my arm lower, or I actually controlled your arm lower, then a little higher, then a little higher, a little higher. As soon as I added the leverage, he could no longer get his arm back. I had Master Perez control my arm with one arm. I could not, with all the strength that I could generate trying to pull with my body, get my arm back. And that was with one. He's gonna double stack it. If he's just like this with his arms, I might be able to do it because I just have, my pull has to be more substantial than like your tricep pull down, right? Like if you're doing a tricep pull down, because you're here. If you do this, I have to move all of the squeeze that your body can generate. Good luck with that, all right? A lot of times, like I said, when you roll with elite level grapplers or you roll with people that have done this a long time, everybody kind of says the same thing. And it's almost like a backhanded compliment where people say like, well, you're just so strong, right? It's backhanded in the way that like, it's the technique that is making it that strong. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll develop grappling strength, you'll create tendon strength, but it's when you compound, my leg is super tight, this is super tight, this is super tight, this is very tight. That's what makes you feel so strong. It's not physical strength. If I went to the gym, you guys would laugh at me. I probably can't bench 150 pounds, right? But if you roll with me, you'll feel the strength that I have, okay? And it's quality technique. So, hope we provided you with a lot of lessons today. Day 2 of Quarantine Jiu-Jitsu. Please give us your feedback, any questions you may have. Did you like the little bit shorter of a video? Did I talk too much? Did you find that you liked the talking the most? Because from my perspective of Jiu-Jitsu, I'm coming up on my 18th year, me explaining the details is actually more important than me showing it. Yeah. That might sound weird. You might just want to see me like, James, just do this series 20 times. I think the actual value is in the information, not in seeing it. I could just do it 20 times and you could never recognize the little things that him and I are discussing. So I hope when you see this, you recognize that I'm not trying to make like a choreography video where I can say, watch how good my jiu-jitsu can look, because I wouldn't teach like this. I would just make beautiful flows that make you go, wow, I want to learn jiu-jitsu from that guy. But that's not what's going to make you successful. What's going to make you successful is understanding every step of the way how to shut down your opponent's defense, how to maximize the usage of your body, and how to slowly drag them to the outcome that you're looking for.
Well said.
Well said. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to try to keep the videos about these lengths. If you're loving it, please keep training. Maybe if you, it'd be awesome. Send Master Perez or send me videos of you guys drilling this stuff.
Oh, yeah,
let us see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Drill this, practice this, work on your jiu-jitsu. Shoot us a link. Shoot us a video. Shoot us a quick clip. Try to explain what we're explaining back to us.
That's good.
Let's improve our jiu-jitsu together. Let's improve our community together. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to keep these videos coming for you. Thank you, Master Perez.
Thank you. Yep.